Good afternoon. My name is Kelly Mathis, and I'm working with Lee Cutshaw, and we are going to be teaching a lesson plan on medication safety. It is one of the four lesson plans that we have under our substance use and abuse prevention lesson plan. So follow along with us, and we hope that you'll learn something very valuable today. Saying no to the misuse of medication. Our objectives are understanding medication safety and the guidelines that one should follow in order to make sure that medicines they are taking are prescribed for them. Identifying and understanding a prescription label. We'll go through this shortly. And our last objective is to be a good role model. So medications can help us when used as directed by a healthcare professional. Prescription medications, they help us lead longer lives. And a lot of the times when you're prescribed medication by a healthcare professional, you're using it for an illness or an ailment or a disease to treat. So, using it under the supervision of a healthcare professional like a pharmacist or doctor is the proper use of prescription medications. The use of prescription medications allows us to prevent and cure a lot of the illnesses we have today, things that we used to didn't have the ability to cure with medication. So medications can help us, but only when they're used as directed by your doctor, your pharmacist. They can be harmful and especially dangerous when you use them out of the proper care and guidance of a healthcare professional. So medication misuse is when a person takes a medication not as it is intended or prescribed. There are several scenarios that play into this. This could be if you're trying to take a pill that's prescribed to someone else just because you want to see what it may do, or if it helps somebody else, you may think that it may help you. So we're going to go through some of the scenarios and figure out which ones are misuse and which ones are the proper use. So we have a video here, and every day we're faced with choices. So before we go any further, let's take a look at this video to see some of the ways that we can make sure that we make good choices, choices that you really think, okay, this could affect my future in either a good way or a bad way. Can we pause it? So here we have this scenario that represents prescription drug misuse. So before we move forward, let's define prescription drug misuse. So we have three scenarios. The first scenario is an individual that takes medicine or medications to help them study. Okay, that's the first scenario. Then we have scenario number two. This is when an individual prescribed an opioid pain medication who is in severe pain. The patient then takes more than is instructed to manage their pain. Scenario three, an individual shares their prescription medication with a friend. So let's go back. Prescription drug misuse is, again, using medications that are not intended for the use that a healthcare professional had originally prescribed, okay? So these three scenarios all show instances where this is misuse. The first scenario, an individual who takes the medicine to help them study. That's not what it was intended to do. That was not the idea behind the doctor or the pharmacist filling that prescription. Scenario two, an individual prescribed an opioid pain medication. The doctor made sure that when this was prescribed, that this person would take the recommended amount, so it would do all the good it could without inflicting any harm. But he takes more than is prescribed. That's misuse. Scenario three, an individual shares their prescription medication with a friend. This is never okay. This is, regardless of the intention, this is never okay. Even if a friend sees that the medicine is helping somebody else and they think, well, I'll just go ahead and share this and hopefully it can help them the same way it helped me or help the other person. That's misuse of medication, and you always have to allow a healthcare professional to make sure that they're doing that. That's what their job is. So, which scenario do you think represents drug misuse out of those three? We went over this. Those are all misuse of medications. Excuse me. The individual takes a medication for a different reason is a strong likelihood that something else could arise from him taking that. He could get a rash, he could get a headache, anything of that sort. The individual taking more medicine than the original intention. This is always dangerous. This constitutes as a drug overdose in many cases. That's why when you go to the doctor and they prescribe you a medicine, they take your height and weight and any allergies that you may have for it. Lastly, the individual sharing the medication, even if the intention is to do good for that person, it is never okay. It can be extremely dangerous, and oftentimes it can even be fatal. So we have an activity here. This is use or misuse, and I handed out cards at the beginning of class. So anybody that wants to can hold up their card if they know what the scenario is. So I'm going to go through these scenarios, and please hold up your card if you think it's use or misuse. Okay, scenario one. Zach recently had a tooth pulled. He was experiencing a lot of pain and decided to take the leftover pain medication prescribed to his sister after the removal of her wisdom teeth. Is that use or misuse? Excellent, that's misuse. Taking a prescription medication not prescribed to you is misuse. When Zach should report his pain to a trusted adult or a healthcare professional, that would be use. Okay. Number two, Laura injures her knee while playing soccer. The doctor prescribes her prescription pain medication and instructs her to take one tablet every 4 hours. Laura follows the instructions but continues to experience high pain. She alerts her mom about the situation and they schedule a visit with her doctor. Is this use or misuse? Very good. Laura could have misused the prescription by taking more than instructed in an effort to reduce her pain. However, she discussed her concerns with her mother and she was able to get a visit with her doctor. So that one is use. All right, number 3. John is worried about an upcoming test and decides to take a friend's prescription medication to help him study. Is this use or misuse? Right, it's misuse. Taking a medication prescribed, no, I'm sorry, taking a prescription medication not prescribed for you is misuse. When taking a prescription medication for a reason different than prescribed is always going to be a misuse. Don't ever try that. All right. Donnie is hanging out with some friends when one of the friends offers him prescription pills. He decides to take them to see what it would be like. Is this use or misuse? Very good. Misuse. It's the same as John taking the medication to help him study. He thinks he's doing something that's going to help him when that's a misuse of the medication, and that's not a good outcome there. Very good, guys. Okay, so here we have a prescription label. This is a very common label that you'll find on many prescription bottles. We're going to go over these, but I want you to also take a few minutes and become familiar with these. Look at the label. You can see where the pharmacy name and the pharmacy address is located here at the top, and it's got the lines to show you. There's a prescription number. There's a patient name, the prescription instructions. These are detailed instructions, given by the doctor for the pharmacist to put on the bottle, and the medicine name and the medicine dosage. And then at the top, you have the pharmacy phone number. So take a few minutes, look at your handout, and become familiar with this, and then we can go through and identify the parts of this medication label.
Do you have a question? Do you want me to come next? What is it? So you're just looking at the prescription label here. And then you're saying, what is the name of the only person who should take this prescription medicine? And then you come over here and you try to figure out. So go through those questions. Just see if you can figure it out. You don't have to write. You don't have to write it down. Here's pen. Good job.
And just so everyone's aware, the prescription label may look different with different companies, with different pharmacies. But these items will always be on the prescription in one way or another. The font may be different, the formatting may be a little different, colors are probably different, but these items will always be on a medication label when you go pick up a prescription. So you'll always be able to find these pieces on here. And while you guys are still working on your handout, I've had this question come up before. Some kids will say they've got tons of medicine bottles in their medicine cabinet, and they're not sure, why mom or dad doesn't throw them away. And a lot of times, honestly, parents just forget. But you can tell your parents, and they may know already, but they may just need an idea. But you can let your parents know that any prescription that's unused, that's older, that's out of date or expired, there are places that do dispose of them. A lot of the bigger name brand pharmacies will take the old expired prescriptions and destroy them, so they're not there in the home anymore. There are ways that you could do it at your house as well. The Food and Drug Administration advises making sure that you have a reputable company that is backed by the Drug Administration to dispose of them properly, to keep anybody from getting, getting exposed to them that may not necessarily be safe to breathe or handle. So just keep that in mind, and you can Google that anywhere. We got a few more minutes before we'll go over the parts of the prescription label. We got about a minute left before we will keep moving forward with the identifying the parts of the label. Okay. Okay, let's get started. What is the name of the only person who should take this prescription?
Go ahead, Rhea.
Jack Smith.
Jack Smith, Rhea said.
Excellent. Very good. Yes, Jack Smith is the patient name. That's who the doctor prescribed the medication for, and the pharmacist put his name to it and made sure that, yes, this prescription is for Jack Smith. Okay. What is the address of this pharmacy?
Rhea.
123 Main Street, Anytown, USA.
Excellent.
20.
Yes, so the pharmacy name is always normally listed at the top of the prescription. Okay. What number should Jack Smith call if he has a question about his prescription?
Rhea.
800-555-555.
Excellent. Very good job. What is the name of Jack's prescription medication?
Penicillin.
Very good. Yes, penicillin is listed at the bottom. Oftentimes, when you look at your prescription medication, it's always in the smallest font for whatever reason. Okay, y'all did an excellent job on the identification of the medication label.
Rhea, did you answer? There was one more question on that piece.
Oh, okay.
Did you answer?
Part 3.
Did you answer part 3?
Yeah.
Oh wait, hold on. I'm sorry. That's
The last
my
one,
fault.
yeah. How many pills should Jack take a day?
2 pills by mouth once daily for 10 days.
Excellent. Until gone. Excellent. So if Jack follows along with his prescription label the way it's intended to be, if he takes his 2 pills by mouth once a day for 10 days until it's gone, then he would have used this prescription properly.
There is a part 3 that's on the worksheet that's not on the slide. And it states, Jack has a sister, Jane Smith, who becomes sick with the same illness as him. Should Jane take some of Jack's prescription medication? Why or why not? And I think Rhea wants to chime in on that.
No, she should not, because she should tell her mom and get permission to use another medication by a doctor, or because if she does use Jack's prescription, she could get sick.
Excellent.
Very good.
Very good, Rhea.
Okay. Moving along.
Okay. So do the majority of teens misuse prescription drugs? What do you think, guys?
What do you think?
What?
The majority of teens, do the majority of teens misuse prescription drugs?
What's majority?
Most of the teens. Do most of the teens misuse prescription drugs?
No.
Do you think so? I have one
Wait,
yes and one.
You don't have anything.
One no.
One
So
yes
they're
and
not
one
quite
no.
sure.
Okay. Okay. Well, the answer is
Oh.
no.
Sorry. What happened? I got so excited.
Yeah, that's okay. So the answer is no. The majority of teens do not misuse prescription drugs. So now that you understand the misuse and use of the behaviors of prescription drugs, what are your thoughts on the majority of teens not using them? Is it because they just know better? Is it because they're taught? Or is it because, they just know that this could be dangerous? This is not something they should be participating in. We can move on to the next slide and have Lee take over a few of the slides.
This just supports the last slide question. The fact is that 6 out of 7 teens do not misuse prescription drugs. So although you may feel like you are the only one not joining in, you're not. 6 out of 7 do not misuse prescription drugs. This suggests, obviously, that only 1 in 7 teens, or roughly 15%, have misused prescription medications in the past year. Even fewer do so regularly. This certainly isn't the majority. Also, never feel like you are not normal or you won't fit in with your peers if you don't misuse. This simply isn't true. You're making strong statements by not misusing and not choosing to partake in that. The next slide is Dr. Drew's overview of the serious issue and risks and consequences. Some of you may not know who Dr. Drew is. He will introduce himself, but he's a psychologist and works with adults and children alike. Okay, moving on, we're going to do a little quiz about prescription use and misuse, and we'll kind of review the questions. You can think about them in your head, or you can say if you think they're true or false out loud. Either one is fine with us. The first one, the first statement is abusing prescription drugs can be as dangerous as abusing illegal drugs like cocaine and heroin. Would you think that is true or false? And you can just kind of think about it. Lost the lights. All right. Do you want to go ahead? You think false? Abusing prescription drugs can be just as dangerous as abusing illegal drugs like cocaine and heroin. We'll move on. We'll come back to that in the next. Just think about them. True or false? It is okay to take prescription medications that were not prescribed for you by your doctor. What do you think that is, Rhea? When they write a prescription, it is okay to take prescription medication that was not prescribed to you. So your name would not be on the label, is what that is saying. False. We'll go back and look at these answers. Every day, 1,754 young people aged 18 to 25 years use a prescription pain reliever to get high for the first time. Do you think that's true or false? Prescription drugs are the most commonly abused substance by teens after marijuana and alcohol. Yes? You think that's false? We'll see in just a minute. Which of the following kinds of prescription drugs do teens most commonly abuse? Painkillers, stimulants, depressants, or all of the above? Now we're going to go figure out the answers to these questions. The first one is true. Abusing prescription drugs can be just as dangerous as abusing illegal drugs like cocaine and heroin. So don't think just because it's prescribed by a doctor that your misuse is not as dangerous as using an illegal drug. It is okay to take prescription medications that were not prescribed for you by your doctor. That's false. Kelly talked about use and misuse, and this qualifies as one of the misuses of a medication. If it were prescribed to somebody else, you should not be using it. Every day, this is true before I read it, every day 1,754 young people aged 18 to 25 use a prescription pain reliever to get high for the first time. Don't be one of those 1,754. Mm-hmm. This next statement is also true. Prescription drugs are the most commonly abused substance by teens after marijuana and alcohol. You can be one of the 6 out of 7 who don't partake in the misuse of prescription medication. Which of the following kinds of prescription drugs do teens most commonly abuse? All of the above. Painkillers, stimulants, and depressants are all used by teens when they're abusing medication. Ways to avoid the pressure. So we've talked about the problem. Let's talk about ways that we can avoid these scenarios, things that you can do for yourself that would be helpful and encouraging to yourself. Just some general ways that you can avoid the pressure. First, and the biggest thing that we're going to talk about is set goals for yourself. And I think we've talked about setting goals. I know that I have with my kids, and I'm sure Kelly has too. What is a goal? A goal is an idea of a future desired result that a person wishes to achieve. Goals are often made to be achieved by a certain time frame. Goals are envisioned, planned, and committed to in order to accomplish a task. Goals are set to help someone overcome a challenge and become better. Goals can be, before I move on, I was just going to mention, goals can be personal goals or they can be group goals. I think when we're talking in these instances, we're talking about personal goals, things that you would like to achieve in the future and things that you can have your eyes and your mind set on to work towards. And oftentimes they help you stay focused on the end result. We'll talk a little bit about goal setting if you're not familiar with setting your goals. Why should I set goals? Goals can keep you focused on the important things. They can keep you on track of your progress. Goals keep you from becoming easily distracted. You can always refer back to what your goals are so you can stay focused on what you want to do and not let others or things around you distract you. Goals keep you motivated. You have a thought in mind, this is something I really want to do, and these are the steps that I'm going to take to get there, and those keep you on track and wanting to move towards that end result. Goals help you become better for your own reasons, and that's when we talk about personal goal setting. You do things that are meaningful for you. Set your goals high and don't stop until you get there. Find something that you want to achieve and figure out the steps you need to take to get there. On the next sheet, I'm going to mention it. It's also great to have a handout that you can write down your goals. You can even take it a step further and write out the steps that it takes to achieve that goal. Work at the goal often. Sometimes you hear about New Year's resolutions. Those are personal goals that you would like to achieve during a year. They get made around January 1st and then they get forgotten. This is just reminding us that we need to revisit those goals and continue to work on them until the goal is achieved and not just set them aside for the rest of the year once they're written down. Surround yourself with positive thoughts and encouraging words to stay motivated. Nothing is better than having people around you and people around you that encourage you and want you to achieve your goals and want you to do better. Remember that your mindset is everything when setting goals. Stay focused, motivated, consistent, and persistent. Talk to your friends, family members, and teachers about your goals. They may have some great advice. They can also offer that support and encouragement when you're trying to achieve those goals or you run into a stumbling block and you're trying to brainstorm your way through it. Oftentimes your friends and family members are your best resources. Here's a little goal checklist that you can use. We have copies of this that we can hand out at the end. Stay focused by creating a checklist. Keep your goal checklist posted where you see it often, like a bathroom mirror, your locker, your bedroom wall, next to the door on the way out, in your purse. This is a good reminder why you're doing what you're doing. Once you achieve the goal, check it off your list and set another one. You may not want to fill up all of the lines at first because they can become overwhelming. Setting your goals one by one help you achieve one, and let's put a new one up. Remember, no goal is too big or too small. On the goals checklist, I like the little saying at the bottom. It says, dream like nothing stands in the way. we just want to thank everybody for coming. I appreciate the participants, and Kelly, you've been great, a great project partner. We want to end with a final thought of see every day as an opportunity to better yourself.